Hi viewers, this is me, Professor Mumtaz Ali, Department of English, Government Postgraduate College Chikwal, and in this lecture I am going to talk about how to study literature effectively, because there are so many students around the world and they face this problem that how to study literature effectively. So whereas this concept is concerned, that how to study literature effectively. So before that, the most important thing is to know that what is literature. So literature is usually called an attempt to change a disorder into order. It means that there is disorder everywhere. There is social disorders, there is political disorder, there is economical disorder, there is ethical disorder, and there can be moral disorder, and then there can be religious disorder. It means that there can be cultural disorders. It means that there are so many types of disorders which are existing in this society. So literature is an attempt to change this disorder into order, so that may start existing a beautiful society. That's why it is said that literature is the best of what has been thought and written. Why it is the best of what has been thought and written? Because it changes disorder into order. Order is a beautiful thing. Order is the name of harmony, order is the name of life, order is the name of goodness, order is the name of confidence, order is the name of consolation, order is the name of life, order is the name of courage, order is the name of happiness. So, and disorder, everything that is negative, that is called disorder. So now we move towards understanding of literature, or how to study literature effectively. So whereas literature is concerned, so the most important genres of literature are drama, then novel, short stories, then there are these one-act plays, then there is poetry, and these are called literature of power. They are called literature of power because they are part of imaginative literature. They are part of imaginative literature. Through imagination, these things are created or written, and when these are written, so it is literature of power. Mean that it has a power to change disorder into order. It has us to live life beautifully. That's why it's usually called that perhaps this life is literature and literature is life. Rather, everything under the sun is literature. So if you are passing through, or you are going through a drama, novel, short story, or a piece of poetry, or there is a poem, there can be a long poem, there can be epic, there can be a mock epic, there can be a short poem. So whatever is your piece of literature, it's one-act play or it is a full play, it is a novelette or it is a novel, it is a short story, whatever it is. In these are all texts. So very first thing is that you must read the text. This is important because without text one cannot understand that what literature is. Now when you are going through all these things, there are three approaches which each and every reader of literature must keep in mind, and if he keeps in mind those three aspects of studying anything and of studying a piece of literature, it will be very easy for him or her to understand literature effectively and to read literature effectively. There are three approaches, and these are the three approaches can be applied not only to literature, rather if you want to understand any culture, any civilization, any system, any political system, any moral system, any ethical system, any religious system, or any economic system, still you can apply these three approaches. So when you, the very first approach in order to study literature is that suppose there is a drama before you, there is drama, there is a novel in front of you, there is a short story, there is a poem in front of you. Now the very first thing you must keep in mind is that you are going to come to know about the conflict approach. Conflict approach means that in that drama there can be conflict, in that novel there can be conflict, in that story there can be conflict, in that poem there can be conflict. Now in poetry, drama, novel or short story, most of the time the characters are human beings, and human beings are not without conflicts. What type of conflicts? if you have understood the conflicts, you will be in the position to understand what is a piece of literature for. For example, these conflicts can be, there can be so many characters in a piece of literature, there can be limited characters, but no character in any piece of literature is without any type of conflict. Man can be in conflict with other men, man can be in conflict with society, man can be in conflict with environment, man can be in conflict with God, man can be in conflict with gods, man can be in conflict with fate, man can be in conflict with destiny, man can be in conflict with religion, man can be in conflict with political system, man can be in conflict with morality of the society, man can be in conflict with the ethics of that society, man can be in conflict with economic system of the society, man can be in conflict with the values of the society in which he is living. So if you have understood the conflict of which that character of a piece of literature is a victim of, then it will be very easy for you to understand that what is the real thing that the writer has tried to describe. And you will come to know it's something astonishing that no piece of literature under the sun, wherever it is written, whoever is the writer and whichever is the language used to write that, conflicts are always existing in a piece of literature, because a piece of literature is a reflection of society, not in a way that it is just going to describe that society. Actually it tells us that how to move towards a beautiful society, how to get rid of the disorder that is existing in society. When you have understood, after applying this conflict approach, when you have understood that what are the conflicts which are existing in society, which are existing in a piece of literature, those conflicts must be kept in mind by keeping in mind all the characters. There must not be the hero must not be given that he is the only person who must be given preference and other must be elected. No, each and every character, all the characters which are main characters and even helping characters, they are important. Their conflicts must be understood properly. This is the first important step to understand a piece of literature. And after coming towards these conflicts, it means that these conflicts are in need of a resolution. They need solutions. When they need solution, it means that now we will have to move towards functional approach. That is a second part of this how to study literature effectively. Now there are conflicts. Now what are the causes of those conflicts? That is part of functional approach. Then how these conflicts are existing in this piece of literature. And functional approach means that the characters, they are a part of any piece of literature. They can be definitely from any society. They can be from Middle Ages, from Renaissance, from 18th century, from Romantic age, from Victorian age, from modernism, from postmodernism, or from postmodernism. They can be about post-colonialism. Whatever is the piece of literature, there are always words and words in a piece of literature. What are those words? The words are expressions of ideologies of that society, and ideology means that whatever is existing in a society, that is part of that piece of literature. Functional approach means that how characters are functioning, how hero is functioning, how heroine is functioning, how helping characters are functioning, how small characters are functioning, how if there are children, how they are functioning, if there are women, how they are functioning, if there are colonizers, how they are functioning, if there are colonized, how they are functioning, if there are other characters who are like kings, how they are functioning their role, if there are slaves, how they are functioning, if they are exploiters, how they are functioning, if they are exploited, how they are functioning, if there are colonizers, how they are functioning, then if they are colonized, how they are functioning. And each and every character, how that character is functioning its role after coming to know the conflict that is being faced by that character. When we try to know the role of that person, function of that person, how he is going towards the solution of those conflicts, this study is called functional approach. And also the most important thing is that there must be a disturbance about the main issues which are usually discussed. That can be, it can be about love, it can be about hate, but then there is war, then there is bravery, then there is courage, then there is goodness, then there is that is called confidence, consolation. So all the things which are needed for a good life, they are part of that piece of literature. And there can be even all the negative aspects of life also can also be part of literature. So what type of society is that in which that is being written? And if you are not in the position to know that what from which area you are going to this piece of study this piece of literature, if you are not if you don't know that this piece of literature belongs to which age, still you can apply this conflict approach and then functional approach, because you will come to know that the characters are going to change their mode of life, their way of living, way of thinking, so that they come to know that what is the solution of this problem. So this is called functional approach. And third and most important approach to study literature effectively is a symbolic approach. Symbolic approach means that whenever a writer writes something, when he writes drama, when he writes novel, short story, a poem, and this is literature of power. When he writes literature of power, that is imaginative literature. When it is imaginative literature, he writes best. He writes what is best thought and expressed. That's called literature. He tries to write something, he tries to convey messages, and those messages are conveyed by using this symbolism, and that approach is called symbolic approach. Symbolic approach is actually mean that there are, literally it also means that what type of symbols are used, what the writer wants to say. And symbolism also, symbolic approach also means that what is the essence of this piece of literature. Because the most important thing with reference to understanding any genre of literature is essence. Because without essence we can understand nothing. But how we can understand the essence of a piece of literature? That is through symbolic approach. Symbolic approach will tell us what is essence of this piece of literature, what is central idea of this piece of literature, what is theme of this piece of literature, what is solution of the conflict approach, and what is the solution of the functional approach that is being disturbed, and how we can change disorder into order. This is a part of symbolic approach. Whatever is the genre of literature you are going to study, you must keep in mind that without symbolic approach we cannot understand, because symbolic approach means the solutions of the problem which are raised by that piece of literature. It can be any piece of literature, it can be religious literature, it can be historical literature, it can be post-colonial literature, it can be psychoanalytic literature, it can be literature about feminism, it can be literature about deconstruction, or any other piece of literature. Whatever is the thing, you must keep in mind the symbolic approach, because this tells us that what is actually the essence and message of this piece of literature. So how to literature effectively? It means that we are going to understand the essence of a piece of literature, and if we will apply all the three approaches, one is the conflict approach, then there is the functional approach, then there is symbolic approach. These are the just three approaches. You don't need to move towards any other thing. By applying these three approaches, you will be in the position to understand a piece of literature, to understand the essence of a piece of literature, and you will not be in the need of to move towards critics, or to move towards helping books, or to move towards other critical books, or to move even towards those people who are going to tell you about. You yourself will be in the position to understand that piece of literature. And this is not just, these three approaches are not just for those students who are going to study literature just to pass their examinations. every person under the sun who is going to study literature, who is going to understand literature, who is going to understand the essence of literature, he must apply all these three stages. And these three stages, these three approaches will tell him that how that piece of literature is going to help the change the disorder into order. And this is the greatest of a piece of literature, that it always endeavors to change a disorder into order. And this is the real function of literature.